welcome to Tarmac. I'm Dave.
I'm Matthew, and behind us here is an all-new type of hot hatch, a super hot hatch. It's the Mercedes-Benz A45 AMG S Edition 1.
That's right, it's a super hot hatch that's born to be wild. Let's take a closer look now. So, why born to be wild, I hear you ask? Well, I'm glad you did. You see, most car companies tend to start a car off and then build on it after that when they get into their sports division. So, you know, you'll have a base car, then you'll add on some specialized struts or increase the engine or anything like that. With this vehicle here, AMG got their grubby little mitts on it from the start. So what they did was they built a chassis that's stronger, that's easier to drive, firmer on the ride. There's basically an AMG from the start. Let's take a closer look. Obviously, signature AMG grille with AMG badging goes without saying. The whole lower apron here has been designed to look like a jet wing. The air inlets here have been widened basically to make the whole stance look lower down the front. And also on the side here, vertical slats, just to add to that downforce down the front. Round the side, 19-inch alloys with Michelin pilots on it, 6-pot brakes. Look at these nice red calipers that I'm already using. You're going to need them anyway to stop. The wing mirrors are attached to the door, which makes them more aerodynamic and also fits in with the Mercedes saloon and sports side of things. The side skirts have been extended to give it that lower center of gravity look, so it looks ready to grip the road, and it really does grip the road. There's some great decals, which is part of the Edition 1 package. It's sun yellow, which is also part of the Edition 1 side of things, and it's even got a sunroof. Round the rear, it's got a roofline spoiler and then a spoiler on top of that, because everybody needs 2 spoilers. Slim rear LED lights that also helps with giving the rear end this bit of width. You've got a lower air diffuser, again blackened out, looking cool. Quad exhaust tips that are attached, actually they're not quite attached to the sports exhaust. And no, it's not a kicker tailgate, you've got to manually do it, but there's actually quite a lot of room inside. Introducing the M139, the world's most powerful 2-litre 4-cylinder engine, and it's right here. This is the first time that Mercedes have introduced their one-man, one-engine philosophy into a 4-cylinder engine, and I can see why. There's a lot going on with this. It's 310 kilowatts, 500 newton meters, and 0 to 100 is 3.9 seconds, but that's only part of the story. In power per litre terms, this puts out more than a McLaren Senna. Digging down deeper, the cylinders have been coated with what they call nano slide to help to reduce friction. The turbo itself is water cooled, air cooled, oil cooled. It's got frictionless bearings in it. It's just immense. The output alone is 2.1 bar, which makes it the most powerful turbo in its class as well. As if that wasn't enough, this also has a 2-stage fuel injection system that basically mists in the fuel at some point and also adds an extra dollop just to keep you going. That added to the air that's coming in through the intercoolers and all that sort of stuff, you've got an absolute rocket here. But it's also the way it delivers the power. They've set it up, the engineers have set it up to make it feel and act just like a naturally aspirated car, and it really does perform well. Speaking of performance, our big performer Matthew will take you on the inside and show you what's going on in there.
Thanks Dave for that pantomime introduction, and you can certainly say this cabin has heaps of drama about it. Firstly, when you look straight ahead, you see this big chunky AMG steering wheel, which is actually square shaped now and completely covered in Alcantara, because remember, this is a proper track hot hatch, if you like. It is a super hot hatchback, and it has a special mode for the track as well. These AMG Performance bucket seats are supportive. There's plenty of leather and there's plenty of cushioning, but you can, when you accelerate and you get thrown back into the seat, you can feel the shell, and you can feel that You know, it's built to hold you in place in the track. It's not built to comfort you on long road trips. You also sit nice and low, which means that you get a proper performance car feel when driving it. All the switches and the air vents are covered in a very nice aluminium, a brushed aluminium finish if you like, which gives the cabin a really upmarket feel. And all the plastic in the middle is piano black. Sure, it does attract fingerprints, but it looks nice when it's not covered in fingerprints. Across the dashboard you have plenty of leather, and you have these AMG Edition 1 graphics, which is special to this car obviously. You also get the contrast stitching from the seats, same color, which is continued across the dashboard. Again, in that sun yellow color, because this is the Edition 1 model. There's plenty of storage cubbies around for when you're not thrashing it around the track, or maybe you want somewhere to store your water to replenish yourself. Big storage cubbies on the side there with a bit of rubber so that your keys and stuff don't fling about. Plenty of storage in the middle, wireless charging for your phone, and all that good stuff that we've come to expect from these nicely spec'd Mercedes A-Class cars. Though, I still have one bugbear. This is the priciest hot hatch there is, but still, you hear that? It's the unfriendly sound of hard plastics. But anyway, apart from that, let's get onto that touchscreen. So you have the dual screens over there. Let's start with the one in the middle. So this is the AMG model, so you get the usual stuff, but you get these two new icons. You get the AMG Performance icon, and you get this, the Track Pace icon. Let's start with the AMG Performance. Click into that and you can individually configure the car, so that means the throttle response, the suspension, the exhaust, all that stuff. You can even bring up a screen that displays all the vitals of the car, like the amount of power you're putting out, the engine oil temperature, and the transmission oil temperature, as it turns out. That's a pretty cool touch. You can even have your fuel consumption for some reason. We're averaging 22 liters per 100 Ks, so we haven't been driving that gently. Don't tell Mercedes. On to the next icon, which is Track Pace. It straight away comes up with a warning that says for track use only, so you know this really does mean business. You can search for your local tracks, you can set it to drag race mode to beat other big V8s off the line. You can look at all your vital telemetries like your G-force and stuff like that when you're flinging it through corners on the track. It is incredible, and it just shows you that this car isn't an ordinary hot hatch. It's been made to take on the track and to take on those bigger engine cars at the drag strip. Back to the steering wheel, we have these two little switches over here, which are part of the AMG package. Right now we're in comfort mode, and I can flick through those modes with this switch on the side here. One turn and we move into sport, another one we move into sports plus. You can hear the exhaust getting a little bit more raspy, and one more turn and we go into race mode, and the exhaust gets even more raspy in this mode. Moving on to the left, we can configure the drivetrain and the suspension settings. So right now the suspension is set in sports plus, but a little push of that button and I can bring it back into comfort and move it along accordingly. And same thing for the drivetrain, press that button and I can move it into manual, or press it again and I move it into automatic. All these things are really cool to have and to know about, but what does it feel like when you're really putting that power down to the road? Let's take a look and find out.
So what do we think about the A-Class? Well, what do we think about, because this is no normal A-Class, what do we think about the AMG A45 S? Well, I think it's a supercar. It really is. Once you move from comfort, which is, I don't know, relatively hard, into sport plus, and then race, it becomes an absolute beast or an animal of a car. It really does. It's crazy fast, crazy quick, and the power they've got out of a 4-cylinder is just immense.
What AMG have done done with this A-Class is that they have gone and taken it to a whole new level, because what they've done with this 2-liter 4-cylinder turbo is just create a class of its own, a super hot hatch if you like, because this has got more than 400 horsepower. It does 0 to 100 in 3.9 seconds. That's just crazy, and it's still a hatchback.
It has to be 4-wheel drive or 4MATIC. It has to be. It would just sit here just wheel spinning otherwise. And as much as fun as that would be, it's just an animal. Is so aggressive when you move up into Sport Plus and race. It's just an angry vehicle. And the gear changing, it's quick, and the backfiring and things like that. It's just got everything you want in a really angry. I mean, let's face it, the Golf used to be the benchmark when it came to hot hatches and stuff like that. This is a red hot hatch.
That is true. I can say that as a GTI owner, this thing in terms of statistics completely blows that out of the water. It's got, you know, double the power that has from basically the same engine.
Double the power than a GTI. I love it. In a 2-liter.
With all those performance statistics, there does come a downside, which is the hard suspension, and as you can hear, there is quite a bit of road noise as well from those low profile tires.
Yeah, and but you do you do get the feedback from every bump, every crevice, every pothole, for which there's loads around here. I don't particularly think that's a bad thing when it comes to the type of person that's going to own this car. The person that wants this car, I think we discussed it earlier, knows this is an aggressive sports car. They know what they're getting, and well, actually, I think they sort of know what they're getting, but what they really get is just this animal of a vehicle.
It certainly is not one of those cars where it's just a little bit more expensive than the normal model, so you say, okay, I'll have that on a good day at the dealership. This is a car that you go into the dealership knowing that you want to buy, because it's so unique in that respect. And if you want to buy this, then you'll know that, you know, the suspension is hard, the acceleration is crazy, and it's probably going to get you into a bit of trouble, but you know all of that, and that's the fun of the car.
And it is fun. Corners, a thing of the past. You know, you don't have to worry about what speed you're taking corners, because you're pretty much going to get them too hot anyway. You're getting right into them. I think, as Matthew says, the ride is hard. The seats are hard. They're comfortable, but they're supportive. The steering wheel, fully Alcantara. It's a race car. You feel like you're in a race car, and you are in a race car.
I mean, these AMG sports seats are almost sculpted like a real race seat. So there's a bit of padding for the head and for the shoulders, but the lower back, it's quite hard on it, and the bolsters are big, and it does keep you in place when you're moving about, which you certainly will be when you're, you know, hitting the back roads in this hot hatch. But the seats do their job really well, actually.
The gear changing, can't hear it, can't hear myself. The gear changing when you get into race mode or Sports Plus is quick, it's rapid, it's certainly in keeping with the theme of the car. And as we found out earlier, the brakes work as well, which is kind of handy.
I mean, this car has plenty of power and acceleration to get you into trouble, as we said earlier. But the good thing is that the brakes are beefy and strong, and they'll get you out of that trouble, no problem at all.
You feel confident. The ride is it's playful at various stages, and will just wiggle around a little bit as it tries to get comfortable when you're pushing it towards the upper limits of its traction, and that's not a bad thing. It's but it's still, I don't know, it's still protecting you on the way through. It's awesome. It's bizarre.
The 4MATIC system in this car is really intelligent and monitors a whole lot of parameters when you're going around corners to give you the most power and the most traction at those wheels where you need it. And doing that means that you have so much confidence going around corners that you could even do it at double the recommended speed for that corner. And then there's the two wings on the back. There's a little lip spoiler, and then there's a bigger spoiler on top of that. And that keeps the back of the car grounded low, so that acceleration doesn't mean the car starts to fly off and literally take off. It stays down and it stays planted. And obviously you just heard none of that because of the exhaust.
It is noisy, it's angry, it's great. The rev matching is tremendous. He sighs lovingly. If you were to ask me if I'm impressed with this car, I think impressed is an understatement. It just ticks all my, I don't know, red mist boxes. It's a car that you could take on the track. I would wholeheartedly suggest you took this on the track. And yet, you could take the family on a nice shopping trip. The hell with that. You'd leave the family at home and take this car wherever you want to take it.
You see that face? That is the face of a man in love.
Yeah. And it ain't the wife. Shh. Thanks for watching.
Make sure you subscribe and hit that bell icon to be notified every time we make a new video.
And there will be plenty more. See you.
See ya.